That's one of the crazier things I've done. Now I have conjoined spools. Coming up right after this, I'll show you the cool tool that makes this possible. I'm Brian, and you are watching BB3D. Hello 3D printing friends, and welcome back. Today on the BB3D channel, we're getting a look at this cool tool for 3D printing, the Sunlu filament connector. Thanks to Sunlu for sending this over so we could get a chance to play with it. We'll see what's in the box, spoiler, it's not much, and see what it's for and what you can do with it besides a silly video intro. We'll also see how to use it, and I'll show you something I printed with the resulting filament. Okay, so first let's get this fine filament fuser free from its fiberboard fixture, that is, the cardboard box. I apparently aspire to be all about alliteration today, an appreciative hat tip to the master, Zach Friedman. Anyway, inside the box, you'll find a substantial serving of slick sleeves which serve to stabilize your stuff while securing them into a single strand. There's also a USB power cord and, of course, the star of the show, Sunlu's filament fusion thing. Sorry, Zach's way better at doing that than I am. Anyway, those are all the things in the box. Notably missing is a USB power adapter, but most people have those laying around. So what's this really for? Well, it's an attempt to make it easy for you to wrap up any loose ends you might have. And by that I mean the loose ends of filament that you've got on that stack of spools over there in the corner. You know the ones. Not enough filament on them to really print much of anything, and you don't want to have to keep coming back to the printer every half hour when the filament runout sensor tells you to run out and get more. Yeah, those. Well, now they're a thing of the past. The Sunlu filament connector lets you take all those leftover bits from all those almost but not quite empty spools and merge them together, as long as what you're merging together is all the same type of material. So you can gather all your PLA scraps onto one spool, get all your PETG scraps onto another, and so on. So let me show you real quick how this works. First things first, you'll need to power this device somehow. That means you'll need to supply your own USB power adapter that provides 5 volts and at least 2 amps of current. An older adapter I tried only put out 1 amp, and the power adapter overheated and shut down. So if your filament connector shuts off unexpectedly, make sure you're giving it enough power. Second, know that this may take a little bit of practice to get good at. After 5 or 6 tries though, I more or less had the hang of it. So, to begin your filament fusion fun, plug in the power and press the power button on the touchscreen. You can set the material type by pressing the settings button. That's the one that looks like a play button. That probably should have been a gear icon, but it is what it is. While it's blinking, the up and down buttons will cycle through materials. You can pick from PLA, ABS, PETG, PA or nylon, and PCL, which, given the low temperature, I have no idea what that is. Pressing the settings button again will cause the temperature settings to blink, and again, the up and down buttons let you adjust the fusing temperature. For me, the 185-degree temperature for PLA worked fine, so I didn't need to change it. After making your adjustments, if any, let the unit sit for a few seconds without touching the buttons. The blinking will stop and it'll start heating up. Be patient, it can take a few minutes. But while you're waiting, you can prepare the ends of the filament that you're going to join. Straighten the ends of the filament out because curled filament is a lot harder to work with. Then, cut a 45-degree angle on the end of each piece. Insert the 2 filament ends into the sleeve, making sure the 45-degree angles line up correctly. When the unit does finally get to temperature, it'll beep to let you know. Lift the lid and press the silver release button to expose the part I'm calling the fusion reactor because it's hot and it's what fuses the filament together. Be careful because, you know, fusion reactors are hot. Rest the sleeve in the middle of the hot metal bit, making sure the part where the 2 filaments touch is right in the middle. Clamp the top onto the fusion reactor, which will start a short timer. At the same time, press both pieces of filament gently toward each other. When the timer expires and the unit beeps, open the fusion reactor again to remove the fused filament that you've fabricated. Again, be careful, the filament is going to be hot. Try to keep it all straight and avoid bunching it up or bending it. After a few seconds of letting it cool, and yes, it's not as hot, but it's still hot, I use my fingers to keep the joint straight and absorb the last of the heat. Then, lay the sleeved joint in the cutter at the back of the unit. It's got a blade that runs the whole width of it. Close the lid to press the sleeve down onto the cutting blade. Then open the lid again. Remove the joined filament from the sleeve cutter and pull the sleeve off the filament. And that's it! You've fabricated fused filament. You may have guessed that these PTFE sleeves are a consumable item for this machine, and you'd be correct. Fortunately, Sunlu includes about 200 of them with the unit, and presumably you can order more. One last thing I wanted to show is that the resulting joint can be a little larger than the 1.75 millimeter diameter of the filament. This one is about 1.85 millimeters in diameter. Sometimes it's less, but even at this size, it still seems to be small enough for printers to tolerate. I ran this through my Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon, and I didn't have a problem with multiple joints passing through the machine. Hey, if you're finding this video helpful or useful or entertaining, a subscribe would really mean a lot to me. That lets me know I'm making content you enjoy and you want to see more like it. Thanks! By joining 4 random 20-meter PLA filament samples I've been collecting from my Alien 3D Mystery Box subscription and re-spooling the result, I ended up with this cool spool of fabulous Franken filament. I used some blue, then some pink, then a different shade of blue, and finally some green. And then I printed this neat gear ball that was designed by Reuven. He's got it on things, and there's a link in the description. This printed really well. Assembly was a little bit challenging, but I managed to get it worked out. And the result is super cool. When it's rotated around, it looks like a flower, or if you flip it the other way around, it looks like a mushroom. Anyway, it's fun to play with. The color transitions were super sharp, and that's one of the neat things about the Sunlu filament connector. In addition to using up your end-of-spool filament scraps, you can also make your own custom color transitions by mixing different colors in the specific order that you want. So that's the Sunlu filament connector. It's about 35 bucks right now, and it appears to be in pre-order status with shipping in mid-September 2024. Thanks again to Sunlu for sending this over so we could get a look at it. Thank you for watching, and big thanks to everyone who supports the channel, whether with channel memberships or by using the links in the description. If you liked this episode, give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe so you don't miss new ones. Well, 3D printing friends, that's about all the time we have for this one, and now that we're at the end, let's go print something cool.